watching World Panorama, the only show that gives you news from across the globe in the most concise, direct and unbiased reports. Welcome to this week's edition with me, Sana Khan. Before we get you detailed reports, here's a look at the top stories this week. Token sentence for Pak Prime Minister as Supreme Court convicts Gilani for contempt. Opposition calls for his resignation. Grow louder. Violence continues unabated in Syria as massive blasts in Hama kills dozens. Deaths prompt call for immediate action by the UN. Hollande edges Sarkozy to set up second-round showdown in the presidential race. Sarkozy rules out any deal with far-right. And prize pot increased to a grand £16.1 million for Wimbledon 2012. Lower-ranked players set to benefit the most. Those were the top stories this week. Our discussion is on the verdict by the Pakistan Supreme Court on the nation's Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani and the way forward for the nascent democracy. Pakistan Supreme Court has found Prime Minister Gilani guilty in a contempt of court case. The court gave Gilani only a symbolic sentence and he will not have to serve any time in jail. The case is part of a standoff between the government and the judiciary, which many believe is being backed by the military, and it pursues the case against the civilian administration. Over the next few minutes, we are going to discuss this development with our guest, Mr. Alok Bansal, visiting professor at Jamia Millia Islamia University from the Academy of International Studies. Thank you, sir, so much for being on my show. We'll be coming to him in just a bit, but first, let's take a look at this report.
Pakistan's Supreme Court has convicted Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani for contempt for refusing to reopen an old corruption case against President Asif Ali Zardari. The sentence, which lasted for barely 30 seconds, comes as a reprieve for 56-year-old Gilani, who could have been jailed for 6 months. Gilani reportedly smiled as the verdict was being read out to a packed house. The court also made a reference to Article 63(1)(g) of the Constitution, which lists the grounds for disqualification of a convicted parliamentarian, but did not invoke it.
अदालतों को भी सोचना चाहिए जो मुजरिम छोटे-छोटे जुर्म करते हैं, इतनी बड़ी सजाएं उनको मिलती हैं, ठीक है? तो इस वजीर आजम को और इस सदर को अभी तक किसी ने हाथ ही नहीं डाला। ये 30 सेकंड की सजा कोई सजा नहीं है।
ये सजा तो एक नाम की सजा थी। ये मैं समझता हूँ कि अवाम के साथ एक मजाक किया गया है और एक आम इंसान में और वज़ीर आज़म में लोगों को यही शऊर दिया गया कि बहुत ज़्यादा फ़र्क होता है.
But there were almost immediate opposition calls for Gilani to step down. The Supreme Court verdict leaves the door open for the initiation of the process for disqualification of Pakistan's longest-serving Prime Minister. However, the Speaker of the National Assembly now has 30 days to decide on such a move, and the Election Commission a further 90 days, effectively meaning that the Premier can remain in office for 4 more months.
So, Captain Bansal, how do you see the Pakistan court's verdict in this case? For one, it merely cited and did not even invoke Article 63(1)(g) of the Constitution, which lists the grounds for disqualifying a convicted parliamentarian, and overall it came across as just a symbolic verdict.
See, the aim was to convict Prime Minister, and the sentence that was passed was so small that now once the Prime Minister is talking in terms of appealing against the verdict, the appeal itself becomes infructuous because the sentence has already been executed. Right. Now, this makes a very significant, because you must understand that there is a very significant symbolic point which the judiciary has made, because not only has the Prime Minister been convicted, the sentence has also been executed. And this is what is actually giving credence to the opposition's call for his resignation. Right. But we must understand that the judiciary and the government, they have been falling apart for a considerable period of time, right. I think, and the Prime Minister's assertion that constitutionally the President has an immunity and he's not duty bound to actually write a letter to the Swiss authorities asking right. for investigations against him does have some merit. And we must understand that the judiciary has a certain grouse against Zardari and the PPP government because the reinstatement of the Chief Justice was delayed by President Zardari once the PPP government had come to power. And judiciary has been, to some extent, it's been very active. It's a very welcome move as far as Pakistan is concerned, from the age when judiciary justified coups under the doctrines of necessity. It has come a long way. But even now, the judiciary has been rather selective in taking up cases, and this was quite clearly evident when the Memo-Gate controversy rose. The Memo case was taken on a priority, and subsequently, of course, Air Marshal Asghar Khan's petition, which had been pending for over 16 years, had to be taken up because the government said that there are issues which have been actually pending, which have not been taken up. You must see, when it comes to dealing with radical elements and the fundamentalist forces, I think the judiciary has been lacking the will to take on them. Like Salman Taseer's assassination or things like that, no suo motu notice was taken. But there are smaller issues, minor issues, for which the judiciary takes suo motu notice.
Right. So the judiciary, you're saying, has come a long way, but still there's a lot more for the judiciary to prove its credibility in Pakistan. But do you also see this verdict as some sort of victory for the civilian government at this point in time? On the other hand, we've also had very, very angry reactions coming in from local Pakistani citizens who are very angered by this kind of a verdict.
See, there is no doubt that the present government has lost popularity. I think there is a lot of resentment against it as far as the common man is concerned. But at the same time, you must understand that Gilani is the first directly elected Prime Minister to have be virtually completing his term. That itself speaks volumes about the democracy in Pakistan.
Longest serving Prime Minister.
Longest serving directly elected Prime Minister. See, there have been a lot of
Prime Minister who have been convicted.
Yeah, because there have been a lot of Prime Ministers who served under dictators, etc., and continued. But that has got no meaning actually. But he is actually the one who was actually won an election, got elected by a parliament. But we also need to understand that he has the support. He's made a statement in the parliament. He says that only parliament can unseat me. And he said that to the speaker, that Madam Speaker, the only person who can unseat me is you, nobody else. As long as the parliament reposes its faith in me, I am going to continue. And by and large, his allies are sticking to him. So to my mind, I don't think so he's going to resign. And this is going to exacerbate the political dissensions within the political establishment of Pakistan.
But Mr. Bansal, the matter as it stands now, do you think that it's been tossed back to the political arena? Because now apparently only the National Assembly, the Speaker, can has all the powers to take a decision whether or not the Prime Minister will remain in office or not. What is likely to happen from here on?
See, there is no doubt that his political parties, which is PPP, is going to stand by him, because there was a meeting just a few hours back where all the chief, not only the full cabinet was there, but the chief ministers of Balochistan, Sindh, which are the provinces ruled by PPP, as well as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is in alliance with the ruling coalition. You also had the chief minister of Gilgit-Baltistan, the prime minister of so-called Azad Kashmir, and governors of some of these provinces. They all came, and they have all reposed their confidence in Prime Minister Gilani. Now, this shows that the ruling coalition is standing put. And unless, of course, the military gives some direct indications, this coalition will hold. And you must understand that as far as the coalition is concerned, it has got a large number of partners. And their loyalty to PPP and Prime Minister Gilani varies. Like you have parties on one end like Awami National Party, which have been with the PPP through thick and thin. Then you have parties like Muttahida Qawmi Movement and PMLQ, who would go whichever way the army tells them to go. So they are only fair weather friends. But despite that, as of now, the coalition seems to be holding on. And they have a clear-cut majority both in the National Assembly as well as in Senate. So politically, I don't see a threat to the coalition.
But there's another school of thought which believes that if Nawaz Sharif, once he can really get the Pakistan politics churning, he may just step down from his post right now and get the momentum going in his favor. Do you think something like that can really have an impact on elections as such? Can Pakistan go for an early election? What's the possibility to you?
See, the opposition has been asking for an early election, but you must understand that Nawaz Sharif, who was immensely popular a few years back, has lost his popularity. In fact, the phenomenon called Imran Khan, which has actually taken Pakistan by surprise, has by and large eroded his vote bank. Right. It has not affected PPP or the other political parties as much as it has affected the PMLN, because Imran is drawing support from Punjab and the urban youth across Pakistan. And these are the people who would have otherwise voted for Nawaz Sharif. So to that extent, I don't think so Nawaz Sharif can today pose any worthwhile challenge to the PPP. The Prime Minister Gilani was actually hoping that he becomes a martyr. So he is now sticking to his guns. He wants somebody to extra constitutionally dismiss him. Now that would give PPP an aura of a martyr.
Right.
A democratically elected government which had been removed unconstitutionally or you can say undemocratically, and that would give them that sort of a popular support, because whenever you feel that the injustice has been done to you, the popular support comes for that party actually.
Mr. Alok Bansal, thanks so much for joining us here and giving us your views on the situation as it stands in Pakistan. So clearly the political drama in our neighbouring country continues to be more dramatic in the days to come perhaps, but for now it's a challenge that Pakistan faces, and India as a country needs Pakistan to be more stable. Let's hope that the situation returns to normalcy and Pakistan sorts out the crisis that it's going through right now. At this point we head in for a short break, but on the other side Russia and China complete joint naval exercise in the Yellow Sea. Stay tuned for further details. Thanks for staying with us. The race for France's next president heated up as centre-left François Hollande narrowly pipped Conservative President Nicolas Sarkozy in round one. The socialist candidate took just over 28.6% of the Sunday vote, with 99% of ballots counted. Sarkozy took 27.1%, making him the only sitting French president to take second place in the first round of a re-election bid. The incumbent president now faces a tough challenge from Hollande as the country votes on May 6th in the second round of balloting.
Nicolas Sarkozy and socialist rival François Hollande stepped up their battle on Tuesday for the 6 million votes that went to the far right in the first round of France's presidential election.
Despite everything, despite bad faith, despite the lies, dirty tricks, we were not swept under the carpet as promised. They predicted that the French were not going to vote, and the French did go to vote, more than 80% of them. This means, without a doubt, that there is a civic spirit among the French that there is not with their observers.
The outgoing candidate, he always succeeds in convincing himself through others, and yesterday he tried to make out what was a failure to be a success. He also thinks his term was a success. More than 73% of the French think the opposite.
Hollande and the right-wing Sarkozy, who beat off 8 other candidates in Sunday's first round, both know their fate may rest in the hands of the 18% of voters who plumped for National Front leader Marine Le Pen.
Look, I no longer believe in the sincerity of Nicolas Sarkozy. I don't believe in the stand he takes either. It's always promises, always the same words, but that can be seen now. I thank those who showed their confidence in me, and I thank them profoundly for their active dignity, pride and courage.
Sarkozy is trying to woo far-right voters with promises to get tough on immigration and security after a record showing in a first-round election by the National Front made them potential kingmakers. Polls show centre-right leader Sarkozy on course to become the first French president to lose a bid for re-election in more than 30 years, trailing socialist challenger François Hollande ahead of a May 6 runoff.
Troops bombarded a Damascus suburb with mortar shells and machine guns on Wednesday, a day after Special Envoy Kofi Annan described the situation in Syria as bleak. Persistent bloodshed has tarnished efforts by UN observers to salvage the truce that started to unravel almost as soon as it began on April 12th. Despite the violence, however, the international community still sees the peace plan as the last chance to prevent the country from falling into civil war, in part because there are no real alternatives.
Even as UN observers started to descend in Damascus, violence raised its ugly head yet again. A huge explosion ripped through a building in the central Syrian city of Hama, killing several people and wounding dozens more. The first group of Chinese observers arrived in Damascus on Tuesday, joining others from the fledgling UN mission to monitor a 2-week-old truce that has failed to stop bloodshed in Syria.
We will follow the arrangement of the UN Security Council. For us, it is a difficult and an honorable mission, and we will try our best to overcome all the difficulties and do the work well. We will live up to the expectations of the Chinese government and people.
This unverified video from a social media website shows United Nations observers patrolling the streets of Homs in Syria. The monitors are part of a shaky UN-brokered ceasefire agreement between anti-government demonstrators and troops loyal to President Bashar al-Assad.
Mr. Annan stated that the situation in Syria, and I quote, continues to be unacceptable, unquote. Mr. Annan expressed his concerns at reports that attacks have resumed in locations directly following the departure of the members of the observer team, calling them, and I quote, unacceptable and reprehensible if true.
The UN Security Council unanimously adopted a resolution that authorized an initial deployment of up to 300 unarmed military observers to Syria for 3 months. Syria has refused at least one UN military observer because of his nationality and made it clear it will not allow in UN staff from any country in the Friends of Syria group.
Mr. Ladsus reported that the Syrian government has refused at least one observer based on his nationality, and that Syrian authorities have stated they will not accept UNSMIS staff members from any nations that are members of the Friends of Democratic Syria.
Anti-government groups say even the minimal UN presence has led to some decline in the daily death toll, although they accuse the army of simply parking tanks out of sight and resuming operations the moment monitors' backs are turned.
Amid mounting tensions with neighboring countries over South China Sea, the Chinese Navy engaged in high-profile drills with the Russian vessels this week, triggering speculation that Moscow wants to make its presence felt in the disputed region by showing support to Beijing. Through this joint naval drill, both countries have displayed more technologically advanced weapons applied with world's leading IT techniques compared with the military exercise in 2005.
China and Russia are conducting joint naval exercises in the Yellow Sea between the east coast of mainland China and the Korean Peninsula. According to Chinese media reports, 16 Chinese surface vessels and 2 submarines as well as 4 Russian warships are part of the 6-day drill. The exercises included maritime air defense, anti-submarine tactics, search and rescue and the simulated rescue of hijacked ships and anti-terrorism drills. The drill sparked off speculation about Russia's intention to express support to China in managing the South China Sea disputes.
An anti-submarine drill is one of the most confidential aspects for any country's armed forces. China and Russia conducting such a drill means a good exchange between the two countries.
The timing of the drills coincided with the US-Philippine exercises in the oil-rich South China Sea, which is claimed by China and many other countries. Once Cold War foes, ties between Beijing and Moscow have warmed in part due to China's efforts to tap into Russian energy resources to feed its booming economy. The two are also players in 6-party talks on North Korea's nuclear crisis, reflecting shared security interests. China and Russia have conducted 4 bilateral and multilateral military exercises since 2005.
With that, we head into a short break. Some news from the US presidential election is coming up in just a bit. I'll be back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's now take a quick look at some of the other international news in our next report.
South Korea and China warned North Korea of consequences if it goes ahead with a third nuclear test. Speculation is rife that North Korea will attempt to conduct another nuclear test within the next 2 weeks. Earlier, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attended a mass indoor rally to mark the 80th anniversary of one of the world's largest standing armies. Pakistan successfully launched an upgraded ballistic missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead Wednesday, days after its neighbor India conducted its own missile test. According to Pakistan military reports, the Hath-4 Shaheen 1A missile was fired into the sea. Shaheen 1A is an intermediate-range ballistic missile capable of reaching targets in India. Military officials declined to specify the range of the missile. Scientists at the Indian Space Research Organisation successfully launched the microwave radar imaging satellite RISAT-1 from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre at Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh on Thursday. This exclusive satellite will help in forecasting natural disasters and enable planners to predict the agricultural production and allied trends. RISAT-1 will be able to capture images of the Earth round the clock, including when the sky is cloudy and extremely overcast. Mitt Romney launched his campaign as the presumptive Republican presidential nominee after sweeping 5 primaries on Tuesday, turning his attention to the November general election showdown against President Barack Obama. The claim of victory came as Romney swept wins in 5 northeastern states, Connecticut, Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania and Rhode Island, which have a combined 231 delegates. The wins moved Romney closer to the 1,144 he needs to formally clinch the nomination. International judges have found former Liberian leader Charles Taylor guilty of aiding and abetting war crimes during the Sierra Leone civil war at his trial in The Hague. Taylor has been on trial at the Special Court for Sierra Leone for almost 5 years. He was accused of backing rebels who killed tens of thousands during Sierra Leone's 1991 to 2002 civil war, but he was cleared of ordering their crimes. Human rights groups have described the judgment as historic.
So gear up now for our next report, as it's all about bringing you up to speed with the latest from the sports world. Here's all the sports action.
Wow.
A heroic Chelsea survived the dismissal of captain John Terry, and a Lionel Messi missed penalty to eliminate holders Barcelona 3-2 on aggregate and secure a place in the Champions League final after an action-packed clash on Tuesday. The semi-final second leg at the Nou Camp ended 2-2 and burst into life towards the end of the first half when Sergio Busquets put Barca ahead. Terry was sent off for kneeing the leg of Alexis Sanchez, and Andres Iniesta made it 2-0. Barca looked in total control but were rocked when Frank Lampard sent Ramirez clear in first half added time, and the Chelsea midfielder lifted the ball brilliantly over the on-rushing Barca goalkeeper Victor Valdez into the empty net. Fernando Torres then netted for Chelsea in stoppage time after being clear on goal. Arsenal striker Robin Van Persie has been named the Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year. This is the second time his achievements have been recognised this week. On Sunday, the Gunners captain was awarded the Professional Footballers Association Player of the Year prize. Van Persie has scored 34 goals so far this season. The Netherlands forward is the Premier League's top scorer this season with 27 goals. He secured a landslide margin of victory in the voting ahead of Manchester United pair Wayne Rooney in second place and Paul Scholes in third. Rafael Nadal won his 8th straight Monte Carlo Open, easily beating world number 1 Novak Djokovic 6-3, 6-1. It was Nadal's 42nd consecutive win in Monaco, but only his first victory over the Serbian in 8 attempts. After winning the first set, the Spaniard, who entered the tournament with a troublesome knee, raced to 4-0 in the second. Off-key, Djokovic broke for the first time to make it 4-1, but Nadal hit straight back before sealing the title. Djokovic won his first service game to love, but was broken in the third game of the set and struggled to get back into the match. Wimbledon organisers have confirmed the prize money at this year's event will increase by 10% to £16.1 million, with a record of £1.15 million awaiting the men's and women's singles champions. But the biggest beneficiaries will be the players who lose in the early rounds. A 26% increase in prize money for first round losers will see them depart SW19 with £14,500 as opposed to £11,500 last year. There's also a 21% increase for losers in the Wimbledon qualifying event. There had been rumours of growing unrest among the players that the distribution of wealth at Wimbledon, US Open, the Australian Open and the French Open was too heavily weighed in the favour of the game's leading players.
After all that sports news, it's time to sit back and enjoy all the very latest from showbiz. Catch the news about your favorite stars in the entertainment wrap. The Knife Fight, a sharp, reflective political satire that divides into the realities of modern American politics, premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival on Wednesday. Written and directed by two-time Academy Award winner Bill Guttentag and co-written by revered political consultant Chris Lehan, the film features an ensemble cast made up of veterans and newcomers. Knife Fight is all set for a worldwide November release. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge walked the red carpet in London to attend the UK premiere of Disney nature film African Cats. William and Kate were guests of honor at the screening, their first official engagement since William's return from the Falklands. Directed by Keith Sholey and Alistair Fothergill, African Cats tells the story of several lions and cheetahs trying to survive on the African savannah. African Cats is due to be released in the UK on the 26th of April. Ewan McGregor and French designer Jean-Paul Gaultier will be on the 9-member jury at this year's Cannes Film Festival. The panel will decide the awards handed out at a closing ceremony, including the coveted Palme d'Or for the best movie in the main competition. Beyoncé was named the world's most beautiful woman for 2012 on Wednesday by People magazine. The 30-year-old entertainer was awarded People's top spot after she and her rapper husband Jay-Z welcomed their first child in January. Beyoncé topped the magazine's annual list and joined other women who have held the title, including Michelle Pfeiffer, Julia Roberts, Nicole Kidman, Halle Berry, Jennifer Aniston, Angelina Jolie, and last year's winner, Jennifer Lopez. That's all from me in this edition of World's Panorama. I'll see you same time next week with more world news. For now, I leave you with these unique visuals all the way from Liverpool as it came to a standstill. It was taken over by giant puppets for a street theatre production inspired by Titanic ship disaster. Thanks for watching and have a great day.